And I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to ask the town clerk to call the roll.
Peter Ambrose.
Here.
Ed Bateson.
Here.
Mary McCullough.
Here.
Keith Varian.
Here.
Bill Gerber. Tim Lynch. Eric Newman.
Here.
Cindy Parham. Heather Dean.
Present.
Alex Durrell.
Here.
Robin Orris.
Here.
Ron Pine.
Here.
Julie Gottlieb.
Here.
Jen Hochberg.
Here.
Phil Pierce.
Here.
Liz Esma.
Here.
Josh Garskoff.
Here.
Ruth Smay.
Here.
Carol Way.
Here.
Jay Wolk. Matt Ambrose.
Here.
Hannah Gale.
Here.
Ray Newberger.
Here.
Janice Solomon.
Here.
Tom McCarthy.
Tom, here.
Mark McDermott.
Here.
Jill Vergara. Karen Wackerman.
Here.
Hank Ferentz.
Here.
Pamela Iacono.
Here.
Christine Messina.
Here.
Pete Tellman.
Here.
Brian Farnan.
Here.
Drew Georgiadis.
Here.
Ken Lee.
Here.
Bill Perugini.
Here.
Sam Cargill.
Here.
Paul Fatabeen.
Here.
Michael Hurley. Eric Sunman. And Bill Gerber's here.
Mr. Sundman, do you have questions on your appearance? All right, if I might, I'd ask us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to ask Fire Chief Dennis McCarthy to come forward and lead us in the pledge. If you'd be so kind, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. May I have a motion to consider and act upon the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 26, 2016? Representative Bateson, Representative Dean as a second. Any discussion or amendments? All those in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions, Mr. Sundman? We have abstentions from Representative Gottlieb. Thank you very much. Was there any, 2 abstentions? All right, thank you very much. That's item 2. Item 3, to elect a moderator and deputy moderator for the ensuing year. May I have nominations for moderator for the RTM for the ensuing year? Representative McCarthy.
I'd like to nominate Pam Iacono for moderator.
Okay, Representative Iacono has been nominated. Is there a second? Representative Tallman. Any further discussion on Representative Iacono? Any further nominations for moderator? Seeing none, Representative Iacono's nomination is before us. All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, any abstentions? 1 abstention, Representative Vicura, and Representative Zezima, Representative Smay, and Representative Drew, I'm blanking on your name. Georgiadis, yes, thank you. Representative Georgiadis. Any other abstentions? All right, congratulations, Representative Iacono. Want me to do it, or do you want to do it? All right, may I have nominations for deputy moderator? Mr. Ambrose.
It's my pleasure to nominate Hank Ferentz as a role for deputy moderator of the RTM.
All right. Is there a second? Representative Hurley? All right, so Mr. Ferentz is before us. Are there any other nominations for deputy moderator? Seeing none, all those in favor of Mr. Ferentz, please raise your hands by saying, and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Ferentz. Madam Moderator, the mic is yours.
Thank you all for your continued support. I really appreciate it, and I enjoy serving you in this capacity. The next item on the agenda is to nominate and elect members to serve on the Special Legislative Management Committee. Representative McCarthy, Representative Pierce?
I'd like to nominate Representative Pierce and Representative Newman.
I'll nominate, well, I don't know who yours, Tom McCarthy.
That's me.
Ray is Ray.
No.
No?
No.
I was going to do mine.
Well, I thought the interest of Michael.
I'll nominate
Mike-
Michael Hurley
And Brian.
and Brian Farnan.
We got to rehearse better.
I was going to do mine.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I figured in the spirit of yeah.
Sorry, I'm slow too. All right, so there's the names of the people nominated for the SLMC are Representatives Newman, Hurley, McCarthy, Pierce, and Farnan. Is there a second? Representative Gottlieb, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We should note at this point that as part of the duties of the SLMC, we will be in the process of reviewing all the current assignments for all the committees we now have. Just making a point. Thanks much.
I guess if you're interested in moving, see your respective leader. Item number 4, to consider and act upon the following resolution recommended by the town clerk. Resolved that in accordance with the town charter and the state filing rules, the representative town meeting hold their regular meetings for the year 2017 on the following dates: January 30th, February 27th, March 27th, April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 24th, May 1st and 22nd, June 26th, July 24th, August 28th, September 25th, October 23rd, November 27th, December 18th. And just to note that the November 27th meeting is the annual organizational meeting. May I have a motion to approve? Representative McCarthy, seconded by Representative Bateson. Any discussion on the calendar? Representative Pierce.
Phil Pierce, District 4. I have a motion to amend this resolution to remove the asterisks limiting the November 27th meeting to an organizational meeting only. That's a change in our practice, and upon further reflection, I think it limits our ability to act quickly and vote on items that would be needed to be voted on in that meeting, even though it is going to be the first meeting of a new body. The body would have the option of holding over items or not taking action on items if it felt it was not the right time to act, but I think that it too limits our ability to act quickly when something might need action that month, so I'm making a motion to amend that.
Is there a second? Representative Garskoff. Further discussion, Representative Bateson.
Ed Bateson, District 1. I saw this when we had committee meeting, and it caught my eye that this was not going to be a regular meeting, and that had my fur up, just basically what Phil had just said. But since this would occur, this meeting would be specific to a new RTM. And what I can say, being a former majority leader, that first meeting, having new people in your room, was very difficult, because I remember, and the one that I went through, I can't remember what we had, but we had something. There was no committee meeting. So basically, I'm telling new people in the room, like, yeah, trust me, this is what we have to do. But there was nothing, they didn't hear anything. And that everything, I think, worked out. I can't remember whoever was on the agenda. I think everything worked out. But at the end, honestly, it put too much pressure on new people to just rely on me or leadership to guide them through a situation that, quite frankly, they didn't know anything about. So I'm going to support, I'm not going to support the amendment. Is that what it was, an amendment? I'm not going to support the amendment for this specific date, this term. Now, into the midterm, if this was a 2-year term, I would envision that the next time we could do not just an organizational meeting, but a regular meeting, because then you have experienced members, you will have had a committee, and so forth. So for this one, I'm not going to support the amendment. I think that it would be appropriate for this time to just seat the RTM, get them, you know, organizational, boom, and if the first selectman or the Board of Finance, there's something, we can schedule a special meeting for the next week, the first week of December. That's my thoughts.
Representative Garskoff.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Josh Garskoff, District 5. I support this amendment. I think we all can agree it's not ideal to have anything of substance come to that meeting. I think we all agree about that. The only question is whether we're going to legislate that it can't. And I think we're just tying our hands if we do that. Why not make a request to the administration? We would rather not hear anything of significance on that night, but in the event that something must be heard, why create a problem? I think we should leave that door open in the event that it needs to be heard that night. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry. First Selectman. Sure.
I'd ask that you consider the amendment. As Representative Bateson pointed out, what we're living through is the midterm right now, so we kind of know how that one works. So the real issue is the only one at the start of the term. It makes sense not to have anything substantive. So I think from a guideline or recommendation standpoint, it certainly is a recommendation to the administration not to put forward anything that might come before it. That makes sense, and I think it makes sense for us to live by that. From a standpoint of a policy saying we won't take it up, it doesn't make sense, because there might be something, and as Representative Bateson pointed out, I think in past years, and I would encourage you before you make this policy to go back and look at past first meeting or first orientation sessions for organizational meeting agendas to see what has been on those agendas. I think they have been fairly small. As I remember, we generally get out on orientation nights at a fairly early hour. They don't go really late. However, there are certain things that when we're trying to get them passed, either by the end of the year or by the end of the month to get certain things done, from a timing standpoint, we may need that. And if we're going to schedule a special meeting, the most likely date would be on the same night as this meeting, right after the orientation session, because that's when everybody would be here. To try and do this the next night, let's take November 27th, that's pushing it into a special meeting of the first week in December, when you already have a Board of Finance meeting, a Board of Selectmen meeting, and various other town body meetings. So I think as a recommendation, certainly happy to work with this body on making sure that nothing is on if something is on the agenda that shouldn't be, it's easy enough to postpone it to a date certain, being the next RTM meeting. So you're in full control of what takes place on that night. So if there's anything that we didn't get you the right information on, didn't get you complete information on, not comfortable on, postpone it, rather than legislating that we can't put it on the agenda or have to go through the logistical gymnastics of scheduling a special meeting, most likely for the same night, because you can all make that night. All right, that would be my thought for your consideration. I totally understand Representative Bateson's point. I think that's a reasonable request that we not schedule things. I just don't think you want to try and predict the future and lock yourselves into something that you can so easily correct by just postponing an item.
Representative Hurley.
Michael Hurley, RTM District 10. Through you, Madam Moderator, just back to the first selectman, because I thought I got a little bit of mixed messaging. At first you said you think that we should amend the calendar so that we could take up business, but then at the same time you began to say, well, I think it might be a good idea if we were to go back and before this body takes any action to go and take a look at prior meetings held just after an election to see how everything rolled out. So I just, before I offered any perspective, I just wanted to get clarity from you.
Nope, thank you for the request for clarity. Please don't support the amendment. That's one. Two, Oh, no, please support the amendment. I'm sorry, please support the amendment. If you are looking at not supporting the amendment, yes. If you are going to think about supporting the amendment, or not supporting the amendment, then I would request that you look at agendas, because that's really what the question is. What have we put on agendas at other first-term orientation meetings that might cause the issues that Representative Bateson was referring to? So I think we can go back and look in specifics. As Representative Bateson pointed out, he doesn't remember a specific item or issue. Offhand, I can't remember a specific one that we had a real problem with.
I do think, just not to interrupt, but there was an instance where we had to form a committee of a whole, I believe, at one of the initial organizational meetings, and there was some confusion to it. So I have to say that I agree in many ways with what Phil is saying. I think what Ed is saying does, offer some credence as well. I just wonder, do we, and maybe this should be through the town attorney, do we need to set the calendar tonight? Can we delay it to the next month and just take a look so this whole body can see what have the past agendas look like at the organizational meetings, say for the past 3 years, just because otherwise we're not really operating with any real information in front of us.
I think having the facts in front of you before you vote, I think, is healthy.
So that would be my recommendation.
But I also think you're in total control of it because you can postpone any item that you don't feel comfortable with.
So is that a point maybe that Town Attorney Lusser could speak to through you, Madam Moderator?
I don't know what the requirements are for a body such as this setting a year's worth of meetings in advance. There are FOI, and what I'd like to do is defer to the town clerk, who I think may have some information about that.
The town meeting calendar has to be on file in my office by January 31st. And I believe that one of the topics that came up at an organizational meeting was a collective bargaining agreement, and the clock had started. That was one of the controversies.
Okay, may I ask, Madam Moderator, one more question through you to the town clerk?
Yes, and then Mr. Tetra wants to clarify something. You had something else?
I do have a question for the town clerk.
Oh.
So if we were to accept the calendar as presented with Representative Pierce's amendment, could we change the calendar in February or March if we wanted to, or is it set in stone?
It's set, then it becomes a special meeting.
Then it becomes a special meeting.
And
Okay? Thank you.
Just to clarify, when a bargaining unit contract comes before this body, if that meeting wouldn't take it up, it wasn't allowed to be on the agenda, the agreement would pass without this body's resolution. So your only opportunity to look at something like that from a timing standpoint is to have the meeting. Or set up a special meeting to consider it, which we then set up on the same night.
No, we don't
Yeah.
have to set
We
it
don't-
up on the same night.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
get where you're going with
Yeah,
it, but
okay.
there are more than, you don't have to set it up on the same night. And honestly, this is not something that I
Yeah.
want to fall on my sword over. It's just, it's
Yeah,
not
so-
a big deal. But just be clear, you can call a special meeting on Thursday, on next Monday, the Wednesday after. It doesn't have to be that evening, so.
So what I'm going to say is, absent having sort of complete information on, the past 3 or 4 organizational meetings in front of everybody here on the body, that I'm not going to support this amendment.
Representative Dean and then Representative Gerber.
Representative Dean, District 3. I have a couple of points to make. One being that when my colleagues on the, esteemed colleagues on the other side of the aisle and our group recruit members, we do vet them, we do as you do, explain to them what's to be expected, and ask them to do their research and past meetings, and they do. And I'm assuming the same thing with my friends on the other side. And also, so I feel that they are ready to start from day one. The second thing is, this year has been unprecedented on the RTM. We've only met, I believe, 6 times. So I'm a little concerned that we're going to legislate to tie our hands, that we can't pick up items on a meeting, especially if we're only seeing each other to make these decisions every other month or maybe every 2 or 3 months. So I'm a little concerned about that. And the third thing is that we have great leadership. We do bring our leadership together, and I don't have a doubt that the leaders that'll be in place then will also be able to continue to step up and teach the newcomers that come into our folds and what's going on. I hope I made myself clear. Thank you.
Bill Gerber, District 2. Thank you to my wife for Googling past agendas in November. Let's see, so Jessica, thank you. November 2013, we approved the Penfield Building Committee. November 2011, the RTM had on their agenda the approval of the roof warranty extension program for 5 elementary schools. November 2015, we had on our agenda the paraprofessional pension program. Number of site lease agreements for photovoltaic roof systems. And November 2017, we may have the new teacher's contract. So, thank you.
Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. I support the amendment, and I appreciate what Representative Bateson said. My question is, will 1 week make a difference? So if we don't bring up if we're not allowed to bring up issues on the November, and then we postpone it 1 week, are those new members truly any better to understand, comprehend, vote on something that is only 7 days later? So if we, provide them with the information prior, I don't see how calling this special meeting would, that they'll be that much more in the know and prepared to vote. So I support the amendment. Thank you.
I'm just going to offer something up here, since I worked with the town clerk to put the calendar together. And whatever the will of the body is perfectly fine with me. The real issue is, what we really need is an organizational meeting with committees, and then the following week, a full-on meeting, because you need the time to hear it in committee and digest it. I don't know, I'm just thinking on the floor, if you could give us a little, maybe it is better to postpone this so we can see if we can figure that out. Is this, to the town clerk, did we figure out this is the absolute first day that people can take their seat? Because really what I wanted to do, I wanted to have the organizational meeting and the committee meetings the week before. And we come in, do the organizational meetings, do the committee meetings, and then you'd come in on the November 27th date, you'd hear all the items and vote. So that's really how this all sort of got rolling. And that was the thought process behind it. So I'm just throwing out there, it might make sense to pull this back and see if we can work it better, or if you just want to move forward with it. I'm only here to try and make the process easier and better for everybody. So that's the background there. Representative Bates and then Representative Hurley.
Ed Bates in District 1. I would be amenable to, if you want to add a meeting in that time frame, if you want to do a Monday, Tuesday. I know Board of Finance and so forth, I know that it starts heading into the other town meetings calendar, and I appreciate that. But if the moderator, if that's where you're going, if we do an organizational and committee meeting, and then next night, a regular meeting, I see that. I just want to stress, I think the importance of a committee setting for new people is very important.
Representative Hurley.
Michael Hurley, RTM District 10. After hearing the discussion, I'm more convinced than ever that we should not support this amendment. Number one, there's no guarantee that any member sitting here now, if they choose to run, will be reelected. So you could have an entire new body here and have important legislation in front of them. Secondly, and I do want to thank Bill Gerber and his wife Jessica at home for pointing out the agenda for November 2013. And I can remember now how difficult of a meeting that was. And it was related to this body approving the members for the Penfield Building Committee. And there were a number of us who were very concerned that we were not in a position to talk about the charter of the committee. Now, granted, it wasn't necessarily under our purview, but there were a lot of new members in the room, and I remember how confused they were. And this is the time when I believe we did sort of the committee of the whole. And again, it created confusion. I think that we need to allow a little bit of time for the new body to be seated, to be acclimated, and to get up to speed on the business of the day through the committee process. That's what this body has always done. So again, I think Phil has the best intentions, Representative Pierce. I just can't support it.
Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Farnan. Sorry, I didn't see this coming.
Me neither. Supposed to be on the elliptical in a half hour.
Brian Farnan, District 9. I don't really have strong feelings one way or the other on this amendment. I would just recommend that if the amendment fails, that maybe on the first organizational meeting, we also have the committee meeting that night also. Just a friendly suggestion.
We have committee meetings anyway. It's redundant. All right, Representative Lee.
Representative Lee, District 9. I vote for your amendment. I think that's exactly right. We have a couple of weeks, and that would be plenty of time. And on my first meeting night, I was not confused.
Thank you. All right. I have to act on the motion that's on the floor, so does anybody else wish to speak to this? Seeing none, anyone from Representative Ambrose?
Peter Ambrose, District 1. I'm in favor of the motion. I don't want to legislate to stop me from taking up business on that night. If it's critical enough, I want to be able to do it. I mean, we're smart enough to make decisions, and I think it's silly to just legislate the issue out. So I'm in favor of the motion.
I'd like to take a 5-minute recess if we could. right, thank you for indulging us there. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. I apologize. I apologize for taking care of housekeeping items for such a long time. I'm just going to call for a vote on the amendment, and we'll go from there. We're back in session, yes. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address this item? Seeing none. All those in favor of eliminating the annual organization meeting, no other items to be discussed, asterisks to the calendar, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Representative Bateson, Representative Hurley, Representative McCullough, Representative Iacono, just because, you know, I put it out there. The motion passes. And then now the amended calendar. So motion to approve the calendar as amended. Moved by Representative McDermott, seconded by Representative Wackerman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Item carries. Sorry. I think we all had the best of intent there. Unfortunately, what it is the fourth Monday falls on the wrong day, so you can't get the committee meeting in there. All right, item number 5. To hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that the town of Fairfield sell the property known as 2164 Fairfield Beach Road to Rosario DeVico and Antoinette DeVico for the sum of $55,000 as more practically set forth in real estate sales agreement between said parties. Moved by, don't all jump at once, Representative Zesima, seconded by Representative McCarthy. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Bateson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ed Bateson, District 1. I'd like to propose an amendment to the resolution. At the end of it, period, new sentence, proceeds from this sale shall be deposited in the H. Smith Richardson Conservation Trust Fund, period, apostrophe, or quotation marks.
Excellent. So there's been a motion to amend so that proceeds from the sale shall be deposited in the H. Smith Richardson Conservation Trust Fund. Is there a second to this item? Representative Hurley. Any discussion on this item?
I'd like to speak to the...
Sure. Representative Bateson.
Yeah, this arises from a committee meeting the other night. I asked Town Attorney Lesser. Last year, we bought a piece of property on Fairfield Beach Road. It was a 2/3 interest, 1/3 we had already owned, 2/3 we picked up from out-of-state seller. At that time, I think we borrowed some money, or we took some money out of this trust fund, the H. Smith Richardson Trust Fund. I think Stanton had said somewhere at $40,000 to $50,000. I think it appropriate now that if we're selling another parcel in the same neighborhood, just put the money back. That's the intent.
Great. Any further discussion? Any members of the public? Back to the body. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Excellent. So now back to the main motion as amended. Do you need me to read it again as amended? Okay. Is there any further discussion on the item itself as amended? Seeing none, any members of the public? Back to the body. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Representative Bateson, Representative Fattabine. Abstentions? Item passes. Item number 6, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that in accordance with the request from the Director of Public Works, the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized on behalf of the Town of Fairfield to expend up to $300,000 to fund a 2016 Small Town Economic Assistance Project, STEEP, entitled Fairfield Center Drainage and Pedestrian Improvements, 100% of said project costs to be reimbursed by a Small Town Economic Assistance Project STEEP grant. Moved by Representative Dean, seconded by Representative McCullough. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, any members of the public? Back to the body. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Item carries. Item number 7, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that Michael C. Tetro, First Selectman of the Town of Fairfield, be and hereby is authorized to expend in the name of and on behalf of the Town of Fairfield up to $164,025 to purchase firefighter safety equipment and emergency medical service equipment, 90% of said costs to be reimbursed by a federal emergency management agency, FEMA Assistance to the Firefighters Grant, AFG, $149,114, and further resolved that the First Selectman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town to accept said grant, and further resolved that the First Selectman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town to execute any and all necessary documents to secure said grant. Moved by Representative Hochberg, seconded by Representative Ambrose. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, any members from the public? Back to the body. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Item carries. Their last item is to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting, which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting, and I know that Representative Gottlieb has asked for a moment of personal privilege.
Thank you. Julie Gottlieb, District 4. Some of you already know this. This is going to be my last night on the RTM. And I brought paper because I'm going to have to practice speaking in 2 minutes or less the next time I come up here, whenever that might be. It's going to be so difficult. I'm leaving because I need to make more time for my family, quite frankly. As most of us know, we put a lot of things, we shuffle a lot of things, we skirt a lot of things to the side, and I have a sophomore in high school, and as annoying as he can be, in 2 years he's going to be gone, and then I'm going to wish I'd maybe spent a little more time with him. So, I'd like to keep my husband as well. So, and now I'm on TV, having said that, so, and it's in the record, yes, thank you. So I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the town of Fairfield and First District 6 and now District 4. I'd like to thank all of you, my fellow RTM members, the boards, the committees, the countless volunteers that we all encounter, the people who have stood up and expressed their deepest desires here at the microphone over the years. I'm proud of the many things that we've accomplished, and whether we have agreed or not, and there's been plenty of both, there's never been any doubt of the passion and commitment of the individuals in this room. And it's been a pleasure and an honor. I will be watching. I will be occasionally, except I'll get to do with wine. And I will be commenting occasionally. So please open my email, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thanks.
Representative Gottlieb, thank you very much for your dedication to the town of Fairfield. You will be missed. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Representative McCarthy, Bateson. Have a good night, everyone.